We're setting up the scene, Aaron, for those listening.
I don't know if I can watch with a straight face. Hold on.
Well, keep in mind that
obviously, if you cuss every day and an F-bomb is like a comma, you come a bit desensitized. We were puddle jumping because I can't call ducks, right? I mean, hey, duck, that's about as good as it gets. So we were puddle jumping. Yeah, there ain't a lot of talking coming from me. I just like, okay.
Right.
Let me write that down.
That's sort of the more the redneck way to me. Like ambush hunting is like the pro way. Like you throw out decoys and, rednecks run from water hole to water hole.
Today we are going to talk a little bit about communication devices in backcountry. But some states it's totally legit.
In some states it's legit and frowned upon, which I believe Colorado, whatever that means. Some of the biggest questions, number one, how does inReach to inReach communication work hunter to hunter in the mountains? That's like your parents saying, you can eat the cookie, but I'm not going to be happy about it. I'm eating a cookie, right? I mean, whatever. Oh, it makes my knee snap. Did you hear that pop?
It's disgusting.
That's crazy.
All right, folks, welcome to the Gritty Bowmen podcast. Aaron and I are coming at you from a quiet office.
Very empty
Wheat
Monday.
Ridge, Colorado.
Yeah, Memorial at Cafaro International. Yeah. Memorial Day.
We did a hike this morning, which Aaron evidently was supposed to be there at 7. I showed up a little late.
You still got up quick.
You guys are at the top when I got there.
We watched you come the whole way. You were definitely burning up the mountain though.
So it was good. Good little exercise. Today we are going to talk a little bit about communication devices in backcountry. Yeah,
hunter to hunter communication, as well as obviously communicating back home. Different options. And our recent experience with DeLorme InReach's customer, I guess I wouldn't say customer relations, kind of. Frank the Tank accidentally hit the SOS beacon. I'll go into that story.
Which you've done before.
No,
it wasn't you?
Phil
Mendoza.
And there was some comments about how that button got pushed in a bivy sack.
That's right.
But and I'll go over what happened with that too, because it's important, because we can recommend them for communication, but as of right now, I know exactly what happens. Before I was on the receiving end with Phil, right? We were the ones in the woods. This time they called and said, we are calling, this is whoever. I think her name was Rachel. She's a very sweet lady. Aron Snyder just hit the SOS button on his DeLorme InReach, and I said, well, I am Aron Snyder. That would be my brown brother Frank has hit that. And then we'll go over that here in a minute on what happened, as well as Phil's experience. But so for communication, you have your cell phone and your service provider, whether it be Verizon, AT&T, Sprint, or Alltel, or whoever. Spotty at best, right? You don't know when you're going to get it. Verizon seems to be the best in the we get 4G in places 10 miles in here. You got the satellite phone option, which there's multiple different sat phones. You've got Globalstar, Iridium, and then you've got multiple different types of phones from Iridium, meaning you have 9505, 9555. I can't remember all the different names. You have the Iridium GO from them. Globalstar is a newer company, which is another satellite phone place, which they are getting better at about the satellites in the sky. I can tell you I think there's one satellite in North Idaho because Ryan sucked. And then you have the spot where you hit the button and it sends, I'm not dying, but you can't text with it. And then you have the DeLorme InReach, which I think for all around is probably the best option of everything. Now this is for meaning SOS button. They have an option. You can buy the orange model, which has a GPS unit. The yellow model is just for communication. Your cell phone links up to the DeLorme. You can text through your phone, so you don't have to use like the 80s style texting. You can text through your phone, and then the InReach sends the text through. You can also text through the InReach anyway, it also has an SOS button. So some of the biggest questions, number one, how does inReach to inReach communication work hunter to hunter in the mountains? I would say it works great for general communication. If you're going to try and flag someone in with an inReach, I would not try that. I don't know if that was some of the questions people are alluding to, but I would not on my best day try to text to an inReach on Brian to go through his phone or inReach to tell him where to go on an animal, other than maybe the animal moved, give up and please come back, I'm hungry. But as far as move 15 yards to the right and he's below you, it could work. I just don't think it'd work as well.
In some states, that sort of thing is not legal.
Well, and I was going to get to that. Cell phones are illegal in some states. Radios, any communication from hunter to hunter, electronic communication from hunter to hunter is illegal.
That is used to aid in the getting of game. It's not legal.
It's not legal. So
but some states it's totally legit.
In some states it's legit and frowned upon, which I believe Colorado, whatever that means, is that's like your parents saying you can eat the cookie, but I'm not going to be happy about it. I'm eating a cookie, right? I mean, whatever. But if you're wanting, like, I think that DeLorme, like if Brian had one and I had one, and I can just text him to say, hey, dude, I'm not coming back tonight. I got jammed up on an elk. I'm going to have to just stay out. I'm not going to die, so don't come look for me. Let you know in the morning if I kill this thing or not, or give you the 8-digit grid coordinate or whatever. So I'll go over the DeLorme story in a minute. Let me run through the list. As far as the satellite phones go, you can text through a sat phone. And when I say a sat phone, meaning not the Iridium GO, just a Global Star or an Iridium standard sat phone. But you have to do the old school style texting. It's a bit of a pain for the most part. It is expensive to get the minutes for a sat phone. You can buy like the old school, I believe it was the 9505A, which is the antenna plugs in the back, twists around, probably the most durable one they've ever made, a little bulky. You can find those for like $450 to $500 refurbished. I still have one actually in my desk in the office. I need to give you one of them. Those work great for the most part for very short communication with whoever you need to get a hold of. We've talked about this before. Do not expect to have a long, drawn-out conversation on one without losing a satellite. If you want to spend 1 to 3 minutes talking to a loved one, they work fine. You're going to pay $785, $765 for 500 minutes. Those minutes will only last a year. It'll cost you, I think, $45 every month to keep those minutes going for the rest of time. So they really get you in the drive-through. It's expensive.
Wow. Ouch.
Again, this is why the DeLorme may be a better option. Other than that, you may not want to listen to your girlfriend or wife, right? You may not want to hear her yapping at you about whatever happened while you were gone. And if you're a woman
boyfriend.
I was just say, if you're a girl out there, you may not want to listen to the guy, right? You may not want to listen to his stuff. You may just want to get away and just let them know you're okay, and the DeLorme is a good way to go. Now, I have an Iridium GO. Patrick got it for me last year, and it is a hotspot is the easiest way to explain it. You can hook up, I think, 3 cell phones to it at one time. You have to download an app. You put this little box between the 3 shelters, let's say, flip the antenna up, and we can all send text messages or call through that Iridium GO. Battery life is decent. Battery life is decent on all Iridium products. It is amazing on the inReach. The DeLorme, it lasts a long time. Again, the minutes are expensive. There's different plans, things like that. The next thing, cell phone providers and plans.
Before you go there, I've used the Spot for years.
Yeah.
And the reason, basically, because it's cheap. It's $100 for the year.
Just hit a button.
And there's an SOS button that's kind of locked down, so you can't just accidentally push it, really. It's pretty tough to do that. But there's that button, so that's just for all-out emergencies, survival. Rescue teams need to come out and get you kind of deal. But there's 2 others where you can text, one that says, I'm okay, which I would text, and it would I just hit the button and it would send that message to my wife and say, and like my dad and a couple other people, and say everything is good, and it would text your GPS location. So they knew where you were, and then they have that message that says you're okay. So I do that every night before I go to bed, just so my wife knows that I'm not dead somewhere. And then there's the other text option where you can say you're not calling in, search and rescue, but you are calling your buddies that you have on a list. You're texting them, and it's a message that says, there's an emergency. We don't need, search and rescue.
My buddies use that when they got an animal and needed help. Was that button that they needed backup for back out? Yep.
And so you can program those to do whatever you want. Mm-hmm. And so we had that. We also changed it a couple times to say, bull down, mm-hmm. And then it would show the location.
Yeah.
And then those buddies can go and look on a website, a separate website that's mine that they have access to. It emails them actually the link. They can click that and they can see exactly on a map where you're at. Mm-hmm. So for $99, for the device, I think it was, and it was like $99 a year to, send as many unlimited of those messages while you're out, in the backcountry.
I think it'll ping you, it'll drop pins.
It will on your map. So when you get back, it'll basically drop tracks or pins. So it'll show, when you get back home after a week or so, you can look at that. You can share your adventure or whatever with other people so they can see where you're at. With hunting, it's not necessarily that useful because none of us want to divulge where we're at. You know, it's top secret, our honey holes. So, but it's there, and you can all, if you carry your own GPS device, you don't really need it. It's kind of redundant because you already have your locations, your waypoints, your tracks, or whatever. So
yeah, and it is lighter.
Yeah, it is tiny. It gets the job done, and it's not that expensive. Let my wife know I was okay. If there was a dire emergency, it would satellite message out and say, search and rescue needs to come and find you. And it could tell my buddies, hey, there's a slight emergency up here. Don't call search and rescue, but I need some help.
Yeah.
Boom, you're kind of knocked out,
Yeah.
You get everything done.
Yeah. I will...
It never failed on me either. I've used it for 3 or 4 years, and it's one of the original devices. I think they're better ones now. But, yeah, I always got the message out, even in stormy weather, nasty. Sometimes we had to get out of the canopy of trees, into wide open to get the signal to send. But it'll sit there and flash a certain color light, and then when it actually has sent the message, it'll change color. So sometimes it'll take a half hour to an hour for it to finally get through. Usually, though, it was like just a minute.
Yeah. No, it's not a bad option. I will say, you can't go hunter to hunter communication with it. It's a
one-way communication device.
Yeah, it's a very very fine point tool. It lets you know, really just tells them you're not dead. You're okay.
Yeah, if my wife needed to get a hold of me, there's no way possible for that to happen.
And that's where, again,
no two-way communication.
The InReach is the absolute best option all the way around. For you, taking in all considerations, two-way communication, the SOS button, price is another one. It's not that expensive, I pay for an unlimited plan for mine, and I let buddies borrow it. In this case, Frank had just borrowed it. Just for the simple fact, if they need to get a hold of me or I need to get a hold of them. In the case with Frank, I wanted him to have it because work questions. There's things Frank handles here he may not have briefed me on, and then obviously for safety. So, I'll get to the story here in a second, but real quick, as far as the hunter to hunter communication, the Garmin Rhinos is another one.
Yep.
That works relatively well. I've never been really a big one on the Rhinos. A couple times I've tried to use them with other people. The other person was driving me so freaking crazy. I wanted to break the Rhino. Like, I don't need to know that a bull just bugled and you're 3 miles from me. I'm happy for you.
Right.
I think that's great. But you are interrupting. You're screwing with my chi here. I'm trying to get something myself. I just want to know, are you coming back? Did you get one, right?
Yeah.
Or if you broke a leg, you tell me. other than that, if you're bored, don't make me annoyed by you being bored.
That has people do that with cell phones though too.
Oh yeah.
You know, from my experience, the last year, so I've always used a Rhino 650.
Yeah, there's a 650CX or something like that. Yeah.
And for years before that, we used the 550. Ben and Anthony and I, and we liked them because you could always see where someone else was. And so if we know the elk are at the bottom of the canyon, I could see Anthony on this ridge and Ben's on this ridge, and it's nice to be able to see each other.
Yeah.
On that GPS. And then, of course, with the 5-watt radio, which it'll run 5 watts with the lithium battery. If you put in the AA's, it'll go down to a 2-watt radio.
Yeah.
So, but with the 5-watt, you got some reach. You know, you can communicate pretty far from each other. And so, if one guy's hunting one drainage for 2 days and the other guy's over here, we could still communicate. Like, hey, there's elk over here. You need to get over to this side.
Yeah.
You know, we split up. So I really liked it. Last year, you and I went out hunting, and on that first scouting trip, I brought it with me, and then I lost it.
I remember you lost. It's somewhere back there.
It's somewhere back there.
Yeah.
Just fell off. I don't know. I lost it. So I hunted all year without one last year. And then we just went up to Alaska, Ben and Anthony and my dad and Chad, and we all hunted, and they all had one and I did not. And I really missed it.
Yeah.
I do like the ability to communicate. I went to REI the other day, and I was talking to the gentleman at the shop about different GPS units. And Anthony is a big fan of ones downloaded to his phone.
Yeah.
He's got this giant phone with this big screen. He can map it around. And I really do like that because it's just so large, and you have different layers where you actually see satellite images.
Yeah.
Versus just a topo, and so you can really pinpoint where you're at sometimes when you're out there in the wilderness. But I'll say that I was talking to the guy, and I was looking for a GPS that had a big screen that was similar. It didn't have a radio. At the end of the day, though, he was describing the antenna system on the 650.
Yeah,
and how the face of it doesn't have to be pointed upward.
Right.
It can be, maybe you can touch on that.
I don't want to touch on it too much because I don't know exactly how it works, but something to do with the antenna system on that model compared to like
most of the other models.
Yeah, a sat phone or what was the other one that was horrible? One of the E-Trexes that. Yeah, it's got to be pointing up. If my cell phone was the GPS, I would always lean it against a rock like this, so it was pointing up in the air. Where with that system, that it's a circular antenna.
Yeah. So he's like, it's 360. You know, you
just set it down.
You can carry it. You can turn it anywhere you want. It's always collecting signal, and it's got it. And it has to extend out of the body of the device so that it can do that. Yeah. Versus ones where it's built in. The face has to be facing upward because that's where the antenna is. It's only one direction, and it has to be pointed at the satellite.
Yep.
And so I looked at the weight differences between different options, and really for a hunter, it's hard to beat the 650 for just, it has the radio already built in, and it has all those other options. It picks up signal so well. It's a 5-watt, and it'll go 4 or 5 days in the backcountry on that one battery because we don't turn it on all that much.
Yeah.
And I like having private property boundaries using like an OnX map.
Yep.
And really seeing, especially here in Colorado, where this is private, this is public, and how these interact. That said, last year I hunted without it, and I really did enjoy the experience of not being as connected to technology.
I was just say, I think it is how you hunt and how many people, because it's, for me, I hate hunting with more than one person. It's just how it is. And even if you and I split up throughout the course of the day, all I want to know is, do you need my help?
Are you alive?
Yeah. Do you need me to come help you with packing an animal out? And are you alive? And are you coming back tonight? After that, you're a grown man and you're going to be fine. And if you need my help, you'll tell me. But the constant communication is a problem. Now, if you're hunting with, 2 or 3 people, especially if one isn't overly considerate and likes to walk above you and wind every elk around, it is nice to know when that guy is there. So a lot of it's just the way that you, your style of hunting, I guess. Now, for me, I don't like GPSs with the screens and the maps on them. I like a real live map in front of me. I use a very basic model 401 foretrex Garmin Wristwatch like GPS. Pretty basic as far as that goes. So I mean, there's a lot of different options. I don't think there's anything wrong with the Garmins or the Rhinos.
Yeah.
It's just not my cup of tea. So right now I think it's a good idea. Now, we should probably do 2 parts to this, maybe, but maybe not. We'll see. But my quick rundown of the DeLorme deal. The first time was with Phil, sheep hunt. Woke up at 4:30 in the morning. We're in bivy sacks, no tarp, nothing, just on the side of literally at 13,000+ feet. I always wake up early, 4 in the morning, turn my phone on, and it's just. I'm like, oh, I got service. It's going to town, worse than normal. And I can hear beep, beep. I'm like, I wonder what that is. So it's like, whatever. I've got messages. Are you dead? What's going on? And so anyway, Phil hit the locator thing in the middle of the night somehow on a DeLorme, which does take some. I mean, you got to work at it. You got to hold a little lever over, push a button down. But he hit it, and search and rescue had alerted, I believe, his wife and his brother. His brother was on his way down to us. Aaron Kessie, who had dropped us off in the middle of nowhere on the back of a razor to hike in, they got a hold of him when he was driving home. He turned around and came back and was driving around on the razor looking for us. Everything got sorted out.
That couldn't have made Missy happy.
I don't think it made Kessie happy. I know it didn't make Missy happy because Kessie didn't sleep. Basically, he dropped us off and was going to the train to hunt. Turned around, came back. He didn't sleep at all that night. We're sleeping in the bivvies, or we slept fine. So it seemed
my wife would come unglued.
Oh yeah. Well, and I mean, the situation I was in at that time. I mean, there wasn't a whole lot of concern on my end on that side of things. I don't think. But either way, when we were just on the receiving end. We knew someone was coming. I think the helicopter was about to spin up, or they may have already. I don't know. But so fast forward to 5 days ago, I'm getting ready to go backpacking with you and Amy, and I had to get some stuff done. Had a prototype pack, so I'm just kind of scrambling around the office. By a fluke, I pick up the phone here. Aron Snyder, Cavaro National is Aaron. And they obviously didn't hear me. They said, yeah, we just had, this is whoever, DeLorme, we just had an SOS beacon hit by Aron Snyder. This is one of the points of contact for emergencies. Yeah. And I'm like, well, I'm Aron Snyder, but my buddy Frank, I let him borrow it. And
so at this point, you don't know if Frank's...
I don't know. Well, this was I honestly, from here on out, unless something changes with DeLorme, will sell anyone on it to buy it, because the experience was unbelievable. Because one, they were very calm, which most people are, but they were like, they started asking me some questions, and I actually said, well, ma'am, how about I just give you my spiel, and then you tell me if you have any questions after that. She said, okay. I said, all right. Frank is 27 or 28 years old. Jordan is 28 to 30. They are both very physically fit. They have water. They have food, or they should. Survival gear. I said, my assessment of this situation, it is either an accident or someone's dying. I said, it's life or limb. And she said, okay. When she asked me why I thought that, I said, one, male pride, and two, Frank I don't know Jordan that well. I said, Frank is tougher. He's as hard as a coffin nail. He is not going to hit that button unless someone's dying or an accident. And she said, you're certain? I said, more than certain. And we just had a recent experience with someone hitting a satellite button, making a video of it. I mean, there's been many memes made about that as of late. Sorry, Zach. But so Frank and I had discussed that before he even left. So I knew someone had either hit an artery with the Havalon, somebody broke a leg, but it was, if Frank hit that button, someone was going to die, right? And I wasn't like trying to make her nervous. They're used to it. So I told her that, and she said, "Why are you laughing?" I'm like, "Well, it's Frank," and she doesn't know Frank. I said, I'm praying right now that Frank is okay. I was just, because of recent circumstances with someone hitting a SOS button, I'm kind of curious what's going on. And I said, and honestly, I need you to know, can you tell me how fast they're traveling? And she was like, yes. And she starts listing all this info to me. I mean, and she was on it, right? She's like, they're traveling at 0.8 miles per hour right now. And she's giving me timelines, and I was like, well, Frank could carry Jordan, or Jordan could carry Frank that way. And I'm like, have you zoomed back? Can you tell me, are they heading in the direction of a trailhead, or are they heading away from it? And she said, I will collect some data and I'll call you back. She collected data. She called me back. She tells me where the distance between two different trailheads are. She lists all this stuff to me, and she said they have picked up the pace a little bit. She gave me the direct coordinate to where they were. I Googled it. Now I'm looking exactly where they're at. And it wasn't like they were like, we'll handle it, right?
This is a collaborative.
Which I thought was cool, because me knowing some of the volunteer search and rescue, how would I put this? If I had the choice between some of the people I've dealt with in the past and someone like Lance Banning, or I don't think Lance minds me mentioning his name, of my buddy Cliff, or Hercules as well, helping me, I'm going to want them, because they can assess situations as well as anyone. So they were cool. We talked about it. Mm-hmm. Anyway, we stayed on the phone for the next 2 hours. They said search and rescue was on the way. Mm-hmm. I don't know if I haven't talked to Frank enough to know if search and rescue got to them. But it got to a point where we were fairly certain, the lady and I talking, it wasn't life or limb. There was no major issue. And Frank, I think, finally hit the call off button. Because she called me back finally, and I was trying to get out of the building, and she said there was you can hit a button that says, hey, cancel this. I'm sorry, whatever. But the experience was quite pleasant. The lady was very funny. She laughed. I asked her at the end of it, can I do a podcast about this? And immediately there was a little bit of a red flag. She's like, is it going to be good? And I'm like, look, I've had to deal with search and rescue frequently. This is the best experience I could ask for. You were very patient. You were very helpful. You answered every question I had, and we were able to work together. And she made up the comment. She said, and she could be specific. It may not be like this every time, but she said, you know this person, we don't. You know what they're capable of, and you know maybe a little bit more about it than we do. She was super nice. And Frank didn't die, which is important, and neither did Jordan, and he did get a bear. But that was really the first experience I had being on the receiving end of one of those on the DeLorme, and they were great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
So how much is a DeLorme InReach?
I think it was 100 and, you know what? Let's use the Googleizer and we'll find out, because I think it was 189 for what I had, and then there's different
189, and then what's your monthly, your yearly?
I actually bought the unlimited deal.
Mm-hmm.
Hold on, we're Google. I only have 1X right now. What the heck's going on here? My Googleizer isn't helping me much. I paid for unlimited. I can't remember. I think it's $9.99 a month. Unlimited text. I can text as much as I possibly want.
$10 a month.
$10 a month. Yep. So $120 a year. I have unlimited text. I get a little email that comes through. I mean, I haven't actually even used it in 6 months. Frank had it for last hunting season because we had the Go.
So could you have texted Frank?
Oh, I did.
Okay.
Well, hold on. I can pull up the text. Hold on. Frank will probably get mad at me for doing this, but let me see if I can find it.
Who cares? Frank will get over it.
Yeah.
So how do you so he doesn't know, does it vibrate or does it beep when you have an incoming text, or do you don't know about your text until you boot it up and you...
Yeah, so you have to turn it on. It's just like a cell phone. Okay. And then they come through. I'm trying because it's a weird number that it comes through on, so I want to make sure. Let's see.
That's pretty cheap, dude. That's pretty reasonable. $10 a month.
Oh yeah, it's super cheap.
$150 for the device, something like that.
Yep. Oh wait, it's after this because that's when I called Frank and Uber.
And then having firsthand experience with it. That's cool, man.
Yeah, he give me 1 second. Cuz it here it is. It's an odd number that it comes through. So I texted someone Thursday, September 1st of 2016, or Frank texted me. That's when he shot his deer cuz he was borrowing it from me. Let's see. Hey, big homie, SOS went off. Not sure if they called you. I had some things I can't say on the podcast, and at the end of that, I said, yes, they did. And then he said, F dash dash dash. Sorry, the lock button was on. I don't know what happened. Dang it. And I said, no worries, man. I was worried about my brown homie. And he said, sorry, I feel bad. I'll give you a call tomorrow or Thursday and make sure I don't hit this button again, but everything is good. That was it. And that was, I mean, that literally took to send those back and forth. He sent the first one at 9:41, and we sent those back and forth in like 6 minutes. So they're pretty much immediately back and forth. Obviously, he wanted to, he must have had it in front of him because he wanted to make sure,
right,
everything was off.
So this is, you found it to be reliable.
It's give you an idea. In Triple Canopy Rainforest in North Idaho, I was stuck in a ground blind trying to shoot that big bear with Avery. Well, I was by myself in the blind. He wouldn't sit in there with me for 14 hours. Whatever it was, I took the DeLorme. I hooked it on the window with the antenna pointing out, and that's all I had for fun for 14 hours. And it went through. Now, some of them might have taken a minute to go through, just because I was only shooting it through a patch of trees, literally probably the size of a stop sign to get through. I found it extremely accurate. When Frank was on his deer hunt, he texted me every morning and every night to let me know it was okay. It wasn't like we texted back and forth. When I've used it before, if I was lonely, literally bored, lonely, like stuck in the tent, about to go crazy, I literally just stick it outside the tent and point it up and just message back and forth for a while, and the battery life on the thing is amazing. So
would you say of all the options that you've tested and used, what is the best recommendation then?
I would say it's 2 for normal people. When I say normal people, if you're not trying to run a business and you don't need to talk to anyone, the DeLorme is far and above better than anything I've ever seen. If you have to talk to people, don't get a Global Star because they suck in certain areas. Get an Iridium, a sat phone. I would say for 90% of the planet, the InReach is far better than any other option. Okay. I think since you can have two-way communication, unless you just want to hear your wonderful girlfriend or wife's voice or whatever, talk to your mommy, the texting's enough because you can at least communicate back and forth. And if there's an emergency enough and you've already had the talk, like Amy and I talked, I'm like, if something major is wrong, you let me know and I will come out. But make sure that it's not like a leaky pipe that, maybe she can call her dad or something to come over. You don't want to come out on your hunt for that.
So you're spending a lot more to be able to have a voice call back and forth.
Oh, what?
With the
Probably
Iridium?
5 times the amount. Yeah. So a sat phone's going to cost you refurbished $450 up to $1,200. And then it's going to cost you whatever the math, it's $785 for 500 minutes or, what, $1.80, $1.68, whatever the hell it is a minute. Pretty expensive.
Dude, that's way more than 5 times.
Yeah. Well, if you take the texting, if you do text to text, the InReach is way cheaper, right? So I said that wrong. The getting a brand new InReach and getting a sat phone, it's 4 or 5 times more to buy a brand new sat phone. Yeah, when you get to the communication aspect of it, it's not even close.
The communication plans, the minutes plans, they're totally, I mean, you're talking, a lot more.
Well, you can get a 30-day plan for 60 minutes that's going to cost you, a couple $100 or whatever. Yeah. You got to find out the plan. So for $110
a month versus more than $100 a month.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it's pretty expensive. So I can't say enough about that InReach because it tells you when it fires. There's some other, you got a lot of stuff on there that you can use it for. You do geocaching or whatever the hell that's called. So anyway, it's a cool system. I highly I've suggested it well before this, but after that experience, it certainly was a pleasant one.
Cool. I think that's it. I think we covered it.
I think you got to go.
Yep.
Family fun day, right?
Gonna go hit the lake, have some barbecue with the family. My wife she's one of 9 kids, so there's gonna be quite a few cousins and.
I think I'm gonna go do cardio again tonight.
Yeah, you're just sick for it.
Yeah, I know. I tell you, not to get off subject, I did notice we've been training a lot. I did get sick, but not horribly, right?
Yeah.
I did notice, I didn't notice anything. I couldn't notice an altitude where we were at. We were at 10,000 feet camping. We didn't do anything aggressive.
I didn't notice anything either.
The training certainly helps. And, I think people, say what you want. I'd much rather train year-round and stay in shape and not suffer in the mountains than suffer because it was pleasant.
It was enjoyable.
Yeah, I was. I slept 9 hours. Of course, I took 2 Benadryl, but I slept 9 hours. I don't think I've slept 9 hours in my life. Ever.
Yeah, no, it was. I was thinking that when we hiked out, and it started snowing on us. This is just the other day when we went backpacking. You brought Amy, I brought Caitlin, my daughter. You brought Amy, and it was fun, dude. It was really fun, and the hiking was not strenuous at all.
No, cool spot,
and it feels really good. I'm pretty happy with the only thing I was telling you the other day is, I haven't been on the weights or in the gym and doing the traditional stuff as much because I'm doing so much just hiking with a backpack, and I do feel very fit for that. But I'd like to round it out a little bit more, get a little more diligent about,
lifting.
Auxiliary kind of lifts and fitness other than just that one-trick pony stuff. Oh, look, a rabbit.
Yeah.
In the paved parking lot.
Yeah, man.
That's lunch right there for something.
Yeah, I tell you, you could feed the Pakistani military with the amount of rabbits that are out here. It's ridiculous. But
all right.
Cool.
Thanks, Aaron.
Stay gritty.
Friends, hunters, outdoorsmen, lend me your ears. Please take this moment to listen to this excerpt from the Gritty Bowmen film, Back to Traditions. Despite our ever-changing, ever-indignant world with its growing ignorance of and indifference to the ways of the wild, I remain a predator, pitying those who revel in artificiality and synthetic success while regarding me and my kind as relics of a time and place no longer valued or understood. I stalk a real world of dark wood and tall grass stirred by a restless wind blowing across sunlit water and beneath star-strewn sky. And on those occasions when I choose to kill, to claim some small part of nature's bounty for my own, I do so by choice, quickly, with the learned efficiency of a skilled hunter. Further, in my heart and mind, I know the truth and make no apologies for my actions or my place in time. Others around me may opt to eat only plants, nuts, and fruits. Still others may employ faceless strangers to procure their meats, their leather, their feathers, and all those niceties and necessities of life. Such is their right, of course, and I wish them well. All I ask in return is no one begrudge me, and all of us who may answer the primordial stirrings within our hunter souls, my right to do some of these things myself. What you just heard is a quote from M.R. James. We truly live in a world that is largely ignorant and indifferent to the ways of the wild. And although some regard us as relics of a time and place no longer valued or understood, we have the opportunity to change the way these people view the hunter and the hunt. We can share our experiences and nature's bounty with those who employ these faceless strangers. And by so doing, we make a difference, not just for ourselves, but for the wild animals in the wild places we care so deeply about. Never stop sharing your passion for hunting and the outdoors. Our wild animals and our wild places depend on it. We want to thank Kifaru, Mountain Ops, Hoyt, Vortex, Phelps, Black Eagle Arrows, and Crispy Boots for supporting the Gritty Bowmen. We love these companies and the people behind them. They truly make fantastic products. Please support them whenever you can. And as always, good luck on your hunts and stay gritty.
This is Ty Stubblefield, and you're listening to the Gritty Bowmen.
Gritty Bowmen.